There's a place on our planet that's incredibly deep, and it's known as the Mariana Trench. You've probably heard of it before, right? As we learned in school, Mount Everest is the highest point on Earth. You may have also learned that the Mariana Trench is the lowest point, and that's probably the extent of what you were taught, about as much as the average person knows. Few have a deeper understanding of the mysteries of this abyss. You can't even begin to imagine what this place hides and how bizarre the creatures living here truly are. This deep abyss is located in the western Pacific Ocean near the Mariana Islands, hence its name. The Mariana Trench is a massive V-shaped chasm stretching over 1,550 miles in length and plunging more than 36,000 feet in depth. Something as tall as Mount Everest could easily be placed in this bottomless abyss, and there would still be over 26,000 feet of water above it. Now let's talk about the inhabitants. For years, it was believed that a vacuum ruled and that life there would be impossible because it was such a remote and monstrously deep place. But the Soviet vessel Vityaz proved otherwise in 1958. Scientists discovered traces of life at a depth of 7,000 meters. More and more evidence has since been revealed about the inhabitants of the Mariana Trench. They may not exist in large numbers, but time and eternity haven't affected them at all. Adding in all kinds of bacteria, invertebrates and mollusks, there are still a vast number of creatures unknown to this day. These are the real monsters. In 1960, Swiss researcher Jacques Picard was the first to attempt an expedition to the bottom of the Great Abyss. Picard and his colleague, using a deep-sea vessel called the Bathyscaphe Trieste, reached the lowest oceanic point in the world and called themselves the explorers of the abyss. At 11 kilometers below sea level, these two brave men stayed for no more than 20 minutes. But they saw enough to confirm that there is life at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. This discovery caused a global sensation. The pressure there is 1,100 times greater than the normal ocean level, approximately 3 tons per square centimeter. Even iron hulls deform under such monumental forces, yet somehow the local fish feel nothing. Giant clams and rare subspecies of fish, unknown to science, somehow thrive in these conditions. But discovering life at a depth of 11 kilometers isn't the only thing that makes this dive famous, or perhaps infamous. Many years later, the records in Jacques Picard's logbook were declassified. The information found in those records was chilling. The researcher documented terrifying events. On their descent to the bottom, they encountered a large disc-shaped object that followed the bathyscaphe and was visible through the window. The object was maneuvering and was clearly observing them. The sighting was clear, there was no mistake. Unfortunately, or perhaps thankfully, the object vanished from view after a few minutes. What or who could it have been remains unknown. Our lack of knowledge about the nature of this phenomenon suggests it could be a creature from an unknown aquatic civilization, or perhaps a descendant of an ancient and intelligent species. Speaking of ancient creatures, in 1985, the crew of the American vessel Glomar Challenger carefully studied the trench's depths, lowering a 9-meter spherical device called the Hedgehog into the abyss. Suddenly, a computer began to register strange sounds. The cables holding the device started stretching and stretching until they were nearly at their breaking point. The researchers rushed to bring the device back to the surface to find out what was causing these strange events. They tried reeling it in, but the Hedgehog wouldn't budge. Something down there had grabbed the device and wasn't letting it go. Finally, after 3 hours of struggling, the machines managed to lift the probe. The unknown force let go. And once the probe was pulled out of the sea, a terrifying sight was revealed to the scientists. The probe looked as if it had been in the jaws of a sea monster. It had bite marks on its plates, and some steel cables had been torn apart. What kind of creature could do this? The incident caused quite a stir. The condition of the cables and the platform was simply astonishing. To calm the wave of fear, as some crew members were quite shaken, the official explanation for the incident was that the platform had gotten stuck on a rock, causing the damage. But the crew knew there was something large and immensely powerful down there, at the depth of 11 kilometers. According to the official version, everything was as previously discovered. The bottom of the Mariana Trench was covered with several mountains, but the area where the studies were being conducted was desolate. There wasn't a single rock. There was nothing for the probe to get stuck on. If there had been anything, the instruments would have triggered a collision alert, but that didn't happen. And beyond the terrifying damage, there were still those eerie, heartbeat-like sounds that no one could explain. Later, biologists proposed a more sensational version of the incident after systematically reviewing the long records kept by the researchers. The verdict: a giant relic, the monstrous megalodon, had damaged the cables and the platform. This massive prehistoric shark, weighing 50 tons and measuring 22 meters in length, is the extinct ancestor of modern sharks. It was believed to have disappeared over 1.5 million years ago, but if the report is accurate, then the megalodon didn't vanish after all. It found shelter in the depths of the Mariana Trench. This idea didn't come out of nowhere. Scientists discovered a giant tooth, the size of a man's hand. A thorough study confirmed that the tooth indeed belonged to the ancient creature, the megalodon. A few years later, a Japanese cargo ship passing over the historic trench experienced a powerful impact on one side, causing the ship to literally jump in the water. At the same time, the sea surface was completely calm. There were no reefs or other obstacles nearby. The crew of another ship crossing the Mariana Trench, the Federico Padre, saw a huge water column in the distance, likely caused by some beast. Imagine the horror the crew must have felt. And here's the most recent example. During a recent expedition, scientists discovered an unusual jellyfish that looks like something from another planet. The jellyfish's body, with its long tentacles, glows red and yellow. The scientists captured it on video. The creature belongs to the Crossota genus of jellyfish and has 2 sets of tentacles. As we can see, the tentacles extend in a strange manner while the body remains motionless. This behavior suggests that it is hunting its prey. This bizarre creature was discovered in a mysterious and little-known area of the Mariana Trench, named the Enigma Peak by the submarine, at a depth of approximately 3,700 meters. Perhaps we've been searching for aliens in the wrong places. While we looked up to the sky, searching distant planets, they were right below us, closer than we imagined. No matter what kind of creature it is, the ocean remains less explored than outer space.